Hey, I'm sure excited to have you here listening to the Malibu Guru Podcast or watching the Aviation YouTube channel. I appreciate you being here. Today's question day, and I got a whole bunch of questions to be asked by Matt Courtney. Matt, you're our sales guy, and I'm glad you're here today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again.
You kind of had a big fall with hunting, it seems, but I don't think you're the big hunter in the family. Every picture I have has a girl or a lady killing something. What's been up?
Well, we've had a good year, successful year, but kind of morphed into more of a guide role at this point.
Yeah.
I buy the stuff, I set up the stands, I check the cameras, and clean the animals after they're shot. But I don't pull the trigger very often anymore.
But that's kind of fun. You still get to be a part of it and watch everything. And I'll tell you, your daughter, she's a slayer of animals, it seems.
She's a great shot. She enjoys it. We're having a great year, good time.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Good stuff. All right, so we're doing a whole bunch of questions today, and these are questions that people asked us. If you have your questions, send them to us. Send them to Clint@flykc.com. You can send them to Joe at FlyKC, but I'm going to send them over to Clint, and we'd love getting your questions. So let's tee it off. You ready to roll?
Ready to roll. Okay. First question is from Paul. And on my last flight, the number 2 vacuum inoperative light came on and wouldn't turn off. I completed the flight with all systems functioning normally, including the number 1 system. I'm taking the aircraft in to have it fixed or replaced. I understand that if I lose number 1 vacuum on the way to the repair shop, I'll lose the de-icing boots, and I'll also believe the safety valve requires vacuum to operate. So my question is, if I'm at 15,000 feet and lose the number 1 vacuum, should I pull the depressurization knob once I'm at a safe altitude or wait until I'm about 500 to 1,000 feet above the destination airport elevation? And will I notice a sudden pressure change in my ears?
Boy, how am I going to answer this quickly? If you look at this question, it's really discussing the environmental system, pressurization system in the PA-46. And what we do in all the PA-46s is we have air that comes into the cabin, either for piston from the turbochargers or turbine, which is P3 bleed air, that is just pumped into the cabin. Now, we can change the temperature of that air. During the summer, we want it cooler, and winter, we want it warmer. So we can do that in various ways, but that air comes into the cabin. And then what we do is we measure the air that's leaving the cabin, and you do that through the outflow valve. Now, the outflow valve opens or closes. It's basically like a hole in the back pressure vessel with a cup over it that moves in and out. And if it moves out, then the air can rush out of the cabin. And if it closes, then it stops all the air from leaving the cabin. And that controller on the non-Garmin airplanes. So if you have a Garmin airplane, that controller is controlled electronically. Okay, so doesn't need vacuum. But on just about every other one, that if it has a pressurization controller that you're going to be moving, then that is controlling vacuum. And he's exactly right. Vacuum is what opens and closes the outflow valve. Right next to it's a safety valve. So he was referring to that. Paul referred to that as well. That opens and closes via vacuum as well. So it kind of depends, does he have a Garmin airplane? Meaning, and when I say Garmin, I mean where the pressurization's built into the G1000. If it's built into the G1000, then it's electronic and you're good. If it's vacuum, which is probably 90 to 95% of PA-46s is my guess, vastly proportioned to the ones that are controlled by vacuum, then, and you have no vacuum source, okay, then what happens is that outflow valve is closed and no air goes out until the safety feature of the outflow valve is that when it hits 5.5 psi, it will open. And then when it gets less than 5.5 psi, it closes. And that outflow valve will sit there and modulate backwards and forth to keep the pressurization at 5.5. So technically, is he going to feel it? And the answer is yes. He's going to climb up, and the outflow valve is going to be closed, and because it can't open, there's no vacuum if both vacuum systems fail, but it will modulate at 5.5. Interestingly, the safety valve will modulate at 5.5 plus a little bit. the idea behind it, if the outflow valve failed to modulate, then the safety valve is going to, which is set at a little higher PSI, it's going to modulate. And so you talk about just a wonderful pressurization system in the PA46, because you have not only the ability to control it yourself through the outflow valve controller, but you have a safety belt with the with the outflow valve, and a suspenders, if you want to think of it this way, with the safety valve. You got really 3 ways to keep from having an overpressurized vessel in the aircraft, because you're using vacuum. So the quick answer is he going to feel something? And then the answer is yes, when he gets to max PSI. And then the question is it going to fail completely if he loses both of them? And the answer is no, it won't fail. It's just going to be closed until it modulates. If the aircraft that I'm thinking he has I think he has a Mirage. If he has that, then the Mirage has dual vacuum. So if you lose one, which normally is because of a shear shaft on the vacuum pump. In other words, it has a shaft that has a gap in it. In other words, a narrowing. And so if it has trouble, that thing will shear, and then now the system, that pump will stop. But you have another pump that'll run, and the one pump will do the job. So if I was him, would I fly this aircraft to a maintenance facility? And the answer is sure. Yeah. Would I do it at a lower altitude? Probably, because I'm in a Mirage, and, as far as that's concerned. And get it to a maintenance facility where they change out the pump, look at all your filters in the vacuum system, make sure everything's good. But the answer is yes, he would be okay. And then the last question would be, after you land, what should you do? And the answer is shut the aircraft off. Don't even, and look at your differential pressure. And you want to make sure before anybody opens that back door that, or the main door of the cabin, that the cabin is depressurized. And there's, how could you do that? And the answer is if you hit the dump switch, that wouldn't do it. You want to stop the air from coming into the cabin, which is what he's talking about. And that would do it. You could pull the cabin dump knob, and that would depressurize the cabin. What you don't want to have happen is a pressurized aircraft on the ground. That's what you don't want. And there in King Air aircraft, we've actually killed people with the door, the airplane being pressurized, and then the door just slapped. Yeah, just slapped somebody. So pressurization in an aircraft, super, super important. Would one vacuum system cause me to not fly the aircraft? No, I probably would fly the aircraft to a maintenance facility and get it fixed. But vacuum's super important in a PA-46.
Sure. And I'm putting myself in Paul's shoes. I love that he sent this question in. He's probably nervous, probably hasn't made this flight yet. And
Right.
then he's thinking, okay, what am I looking for? So he knows he's got one out, and he's worried about the second one. What's your first signs you're going to look for there?
Well, there's a vacuum gauge on the cockpit somewhere. Older ones are analog, newer ones are digital, and it's going to have a vacuum 1 and a vacuum 2. And if the red knob's popped out, you've lost whichever one that is. Or if there's a yellow or a red light on the panel, if it's Garmin, it'll let you know which vacuum pump is not working. Fairly normal as far as this is concerned. And I'd say not a super hard, but it's not super easy. Interestingly, we had Danny Redard, who's one of our mechanics that went on the Alaska trip. We had a big PMOPA trip, and one of the Mirages on that particular flight on the way up to Alaska lost a vacuum pump. And so while we were up there, Danny came as the maintenance guy. Of course, he got to experience Alaska and get paid while he's going with the pure express intent of fixing aircraft. And sure enough, we had one that happened. So I got to help. So it was kind of a fun day for me to go turn wrenches. But you have to go in the baggage compartment. There's a area where there's an opening. You got to open that up to access the back of the engine to be able to get to the vacuum pump. And then you got to contort your hands in all these weird positions to get the vacuum pump off. But sure enough, on that one, it was a vacuum pump that the shear shaft had sheared. And of course, that pump's no longer working. We got it fixed, and it was, I imagine 3 or 4 hours worth of maintenance. Probably 5 with me helping, but that's the way it goes. I mean, not a real hard job in the grand scheme of things. And there's filters in the system because that vacuum system's sucking in air. and sucking in, pollen and dirt and debris, dust, whatever's in the air. And that stuff can get clogged, and then that get into the vacuum pumps, and all that can get messy. And so the point is that you are going to replace vacuum pumps as you go. If you have one, don't fret, but get it fixed.
Sure.
We don't want to run around without one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll move on to question 2. This one's from Tom. I believe it's a KFC question.
KFC 150?
Well, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
I recently listened to the Malibu Guru episode where Joe talked about flying with a legacy KFC 150 autopilot. I fly.
And by definition, anything with a 150 in it today is a legacy. I mean, there's no way you can say, I got a KFC 150 and I'm modern.
No updated version.
Yeah. Love the autopilot, but you're flying an old autopilot there.
And it's with he flies a Malibu Mirage equipped with a Garmin G500 TXI, GTN 750, KFC 150, and a GC 485 PFD controller.
Okay. And before we go any further, all that right there is really good.
Yeah, great panel.
Yeah. And that PFD controller, the idea behind it is this is the way to, if you are going to keep your 150, which is analog, then you want that 485 PFD controller to be able to control parameters on there, like heading, barometric pressure, things of this nature. This is actually just him talking about that. That's a good panel that utilizes that 150 in a good manner. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, it looks like it's updated all the way to the autopilot at this point.
Yeah.
When I fly a GPS, LPV, or ILS approach, let's use the RNAV GPS Z runway 19 at Rutland, Vermont, as an example. I noticed something I'm trying to understand. Approaching from the south, procedure turn is required. I get cleared to Gitki, the initial approach fix, and cleared for the approach. While in GPS-S mode, the autopilot flies the course reversal perfectly. Here's when the anomaly happens. Once the needle starts to center for the final approach course, I have to manually select vectors to final on the GTN 750 and then press APH on the KFC 150. Otherwise, the glide slope won't capture. It's a lot of button pushing, and I'm trying to figure out why the vectors to final selection is necessary. Can you explain what's happening between the 750 and the 150 in this scenario? And
yeah, this is a nuanced thing because we are really talking about the 150, but I'm 100% positive of this answer. We see it a bunch. Here's the deal: when you're at GPS steering, what that basically means is it knows the aircraft's heading and it knows where the aircraft's going, so it can calculate winds. And so when you draw a straight line in your GPS-S, it will fly center line to center line. Whereas if you're flying just GPS, then it will hit the point and then make this big turn and come back and woggle back and forth as it finally finds that heading it needs. It's very imprecise in GPS, very precise in GPS steering. And any modern autopilot, any modern navigator is going to be GPS-S. We don't even say it anymore. But back when the KFC 150 was founded, there was no such thing as GPS-S. So when you navigate on a GPS with a KFC 150, the only time you're in GPS-S is when you have the heading bug selected, and then somewhere else on the panel is going to be a heading/GPS-S button, and then you got to select GPS-S. So when your autopilot control head says heading and you have the GPS-S, then you're in GPS-S. So if you push the approach button, you are not in GPS-S and it will not fly that approach. So the only way to make it change over is to hit activate vectors to final. You draw a new line with your navigator, then you hit the approach button, and your autopilot then sees the line that's now drawn by your navigator and it'll fly it. If you don't, you're merely in GPS-S, it'll never catch the glide slope. So the bottom line is he is doing it right in this aircraft, and it's just one of those weird things that if you've got a KFC 150, you've got to do these little trickaroos to be able to get the airplane to do what you want. And this is why, honestly, if I'm him, I'm stroking the $55,000 check to get the new GFC 600 autopilot because it's way better. You don't have all these fumbles that occur, and it's just much better. With the KFC 150, one of the best ways to basically control, delete an approach is to hit activate vectors to final, because you are drawing a new line. And now it's as if the KFC 150 can see whatever you're doing and it'll actually do it. But it just can't handle the digital moves. The old analog 150 just can't keep up with a 750 Navigator. It loses it. And then the KFC 150 is like, I don't know what to do. I can't see everything. So you really need to be sequenced properly. You need to be nuanced if you have a KFC 150. If you're going to continue to fly a 150, I'm cool. We're getting along, but you got to be very, very nuanced into how to fly it.
And I've noticed I bounce airplanes quite a bit, but the KFC eats everybody's lunch. If that's not your autopilot, it's very difficult to step into one. And
extremely difficult.
Like where the Garmin, you can figure it out pretty quickly. But the KFC is tough in everything I jump in. But
let me say it differently. If you're buying an aircraft with a KFC 150, and you better get an instructor that knows that exactly. I cannot tell you how many people come buy an airplane with a KFC 150, end up coming to us for recurrent training, and all of a sudden they learn all this stuff they never knew the aircraft would do, and they're so confused and conflicted as to how to fly that thing accurately, and they can only get it to do a few little things. Matter of fact, literally 2 days ago, I was flying with somebody with one of these, didn't know so many things that the autopilot would do because they had a very well-meaning, intentioned instructor that taught them, but didn't know the nuances with the digital versus analog. It's almost becoming a bit of a dinosaur to find somebody that actually knows what they're talking about on this. So if you got a 150, make sure you got an instructor that really understands that application in that panel. If not, go digital. Go
Sure.
digital.
And I'm with Tom here. This is difficult. Trying to wrap my mind around when you activate vectors to final, you've already done the procedure turn. Is it capturing the approach from that point forward?
No, you have to be driving inbound on the approach. So you're literally like if you hit a initial approach fix and you have to do a procedure turn, there's really only one good way to do it, and that's GPSS, which means on your KFC 150 you got the heading bug pushed. If you push approach, you're no longer GPSS. You're out of there, and it doesn't know what to do, and it will not handshake. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so the best way to do it is to hit activate vectors to final. It's just like hitting Control Delete on a computer. You're deleting everything you did, and now you got to navigate inbound. Most people push heading bug and use heading to get to the course, and that's what you do.
Just intercept.
And just intercept with the approach button. And
if you don't hit vectors to final, will it divert to heading mode?
Start hand flying.
It'll kick you off.
Oh yeah, or it'll take you to China the long way. I mean,
gotcha. Okay.
You're not going to make it. It's going to not do what you want it to do. Literally, it's going to be, I can't tell you how many times I have clients go, what the hell is it doing now? Yeah. And with the KFC 150, there's so many ways that you can say, what the hell is it doing now? Because you just don't know unless you're really nuanced in that KFC 150. For 1983, that was a cat's meow. For 2025, 26, it's a boat anchor.
Yeah.
Go get rid of that piece of junk. I love the autopilot because I'm one of the few guys that really understands it. And it really is a good autopilot. But golly, the thing's 45 years old.
Yeah.
Dump that thing. Go get a new one. Yeah. GFC 600. It's the only way to go. If you're listening to this podcast, and you got a KFC 150, you need to give semi-plane or call up the Tony up at RC Avionics, or call Steve Nunn in Vancouver. Those are 3 great avionics shops. Go get that crap pulled out. Go get a new one. No safety features on a KFC 150. All the safety features on a GFC 600. I know it's $55,000, but I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get a premium price on your airplane if you're not. And if you're going to keep your airplane for a while, why not get a good autopilot? Dump that thing. Go get a new one.
Sure. Okay. We'll move on to...
Sorry, that was kind of point blank, wasn't it? That was a little rough.
We're all thinking it.
Okay. I just know it's better. It's $55,000. $55,000 is a bunch of money, but golly, autopilots are so critical today to the system, and the newest stuff is just simply better. So if you got to keep, with this panel, this guy, Paul has a really, really good panel, except for the autopilot. So yeah, stroke that check, baby.
Yeah, let's do it. Now let's move on to Dave.
Okay.
So Dave's got a question. He's planning on flying to Quebec City to meet some friends. The forecast is showing rain with ceilings around 1,500 feet and temps around 10 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. From what he can tell, the freezing level will be about 5,000 feet above the field. If the windshield heat isn't working and the freezing level is around 5,000 feet, would the windshield likely clear off by the time he's descending to land, or will he still be dealing with ice buildup on the approach?
Yeah, go find out. It says 10 degrees in the afternoon. He's golden. There's no problem. I've gotten to the place where I don't even call windshield heat. I call it landing heat because I really don't give a rip about the windshield until you're landing. I mean, when you're up at altitude, you don't, not that you don't want to see through the windshield, but it's not imperative. You know what I'm saying? It's nice to be able to look out the front, and it's nice. And I turn on windshield heat to create some heat in the cabin. It's actually a little bit warmer in the cabin when you got a hot windshield. Mm-hmm. That makes it nice. But it's really, I call it landing heat. And I will tell you that when you have a heated windshield and you get above freezing, that because you have all that air from that prop blowing right onto that windshield, it doesn't stand a chance of staying there. It's going to fly off so fast it'll make your head spin. So yeah, he's going to be at 10 degrees Celsius on the ground. He's golden. Yeah. What you really want to worry about is when you're iced up in flight and it's freezing at the surface. Now you're in trouble. Now you need landing heat. You need windshield heat to be able to knock all that stuff off.
Sure.
Yeah. In a decade of flying the PA-40, like in the last decade of flying a PA-46, I've hit the windshield heat because I needed the windshield heat maybe twice in, gosh, I don't know, I bet 6,000 or 7,000 hours of PA-46 flying in the last decade. I've hit the windshield heat twice. Now I live in Texas. Somebody in Michigan's probably saying, I use it all the time or something. Yeah. But the point behind the whole thing is that windshield heat is landing heat. It's really what it is. Now I'm turning it on way before then. If I got windshield heat, I'm literally running it most of my flight, even on nice days where it's not. I'm literally running it because I'm exercising that thing and making it go. So, but am I worried about landing when it's 10 degrees Celsius outside? No problem. Yeah, he's going to be just fine.
Divert off into windshields just a little bit because you're speaking about usage of it. And now from the sales side, and I look at the windshield and the problems we have finding new ones, which it seems to be getting a little bit better. I've heard in many cases recently with people replacing windshields. But it almost feels like that system is like it's got a piece of glass in front of you. You don't break unless it's an emergency. But what's your suggestion on not using it can also cause some problems?
There's a bunch of schools of thought, and no one has the right answer on this. I will tell you there's anecdotal evidence only. Meaning there's nothing where somebody says, I have looked at the windshield heat over all of the PA-46s or the vast majority of them, and here's the people that use. And the reason why is everybody uses it differently. I bet 80% of PA-46 pilots never turn it on. Never. Not even one time. And I bet you 10% turn it on most of the time. In other words, they turn it on, and I've got some big practitioners in the maintenance world advocate you turn it on whenever you get to freezing. In other words, as you're climbing, you get to a freezing point. When it's below freezing, you turn it on, and when it gets above freezing, turn it off. In other words, exercise it. Mm-hmm. I've become an advocate of exercising it. I think it's the right answer. I think that's a good way to do it. I'm running it. I'm exercising it quite a bit. I think there's good wisdom in doing that. I don't know of a negative to doing it. Sure. So yeah, and I agree from a sales perspective, the windshield heat is still the big elephant in the room when it comes down to the, sales. Is your windshield heat working or not? It's usually a percentage of,
where is it working, top to bottom? Yeah.
Right. There's always a thing, that you got to deal with. And if you've got a but today, since windshields are not very accessible, I mean, there's some people that are getting them for big dollars. Mm-hmm. But still, you want to know if you're buying an aircraft or if you're selling an aircraft, what's that windshield doing? I would not be like if somebody had a windshield that's 50% working, I wouldn't say, the windshield isn't working. I want a new $40,000 windshield or $45,000. I'm not going there because you just can't. And if I got a windshield that's working 50%, I'm going flying. And I'm certainly not replacing it in today's world. I've heard that we're going to have a new supplier of windshields. I cannot wait till that day comes. It's just great. It's going to be great when we get a good another supplier.
Sure. But you're saying if it's a 20, let's call it 20% windshield Mirage, got a KFC, are you spending that 50 on the windshield or the GFC?
Oh, GFC. Yeah. all day long. Yeah. And not a question, especially if you live not in Michigan.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? No, if you live in Wisconsin or Michigan or, a northern state where it's just all the time you're coming home to all the time you're coming in, it's freezing at the surface. You got ice on the airplane. You got to knock it off. There ain't but one way.
Yeah. And if you live there and you own this airframe, you bought it more for Fiki than anything else.
That's right. And then, yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's roll on to Dan's question. Dan Moran, the Diamond Man, one of our favorite people.
Man. Yeah.
So
by the way, before we even get into Dan's been real good to us, and Valentine's Day's coming, and there's all kind of good stuff. So Dan's a great guy, owns a jet prop, and if you haven't got Valentine's figured out,
give Dan a call.
Little shout out for Dan. All right, if you look at this route that Dan gave us, Dan's over in Long Beach, California, and he tries to go to Phoenix, which is, I bet that's a milk run for him. And so he filed this flight plan. Here's the rule. Anytime you have a Victor Airway has to have an origination point and an ending point. I don't care where those 2 points are along the route. So if you pick this point and you're going all the way to here, they could stop you here and make you go direct. But you have to have a point on the route that defines the Victor Airway. Okay. In this case, the difference in the two happens to be thermal, TRM, which is a point on the Victor Airway. So the answer is it doesn't matter. So, and I'll tell you this, when you file a flight plan, that is nothing more than a dream sheet. It is literally that. It's a dream sheet. I want to go from here to there because it doesn't matter what you file. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Whatever they give you is what your clearance, and that's what you're going to end up flying. I bet you 99.9% of my flights are filed from here direct to there because I got tired of figuring out how they want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Sure. It's just a dream. It literally is, hey, it's me and this many people and this much fuel in this airplane, and I'd like to go from here to there. It's a dream sheet is all it is. Now, if I lived, and so literally most of my flights are direct, and then when they give me the flight plan, you can literally, if you're in ForeFlight or in flightplan.com, which are the two big places for people to file flight plans, either one, when you're going to get back the route you probably are going to get from them. And so you can look at your phone, and a lot of times you can send that data via Bluetooth to your system if you got a modern system. And there's all kind of beautiful ways. But man, I filed direct 99% of the time. The rare time that I wouldn't would be a guy like Dan who lives under the Los Angeles Bravo shelf and is going to Phoenix, which is in a Bravo shelf, where if there's something you just know you're going to get every time and you'd really like to fly that, I would file it. Like this is a route that he's pretty sure, man, this is what I'm going to get just about every single time. Then I'd file that because you know you're going to get it, and that's fine. I don't live in a place where I live under a Bravo or in a place where I'm getting exact routing every time, and I just can never predict it. So I just file direct.
Yeah, and in our area, a lot of times you're going to receive direct. They're going to give it back to you. Now, on Dan's situation in California, you're on an airway everywhere you go.
Every time, every single time. And that's just all there is to it. So it really comes down to as far as, but I'm not playing the game of I'm going to try to predict what they're going to give me and file that like there's any bonus points that come with that. Just file whatever you want.
It's a wish list and then adapt.
Yeah, exactly. To me, 100%, I'm filing direct every time because it's easy to hit direct, file it, and then just wait to see what you get. Sure. And then go figure out how to put that into the system. But that's me. I don't think there's really a wrong way, but there's certainly not a way you're going to predict. And there's not a dude or a girl that's back there messing with you This is just a computer system that's dealing with thousands upon thousands of airplanes in a particular day. And they're sending you on a route that a lot of times just has to do with what the current routes there. Like, in other words, we have a south flow into Dallas. Well, you're going to get one of these other kind of routes versus those. And so they have ways that they want to file you in based on the weather and what runways are active and all these kind of different things. Hard to predict. In this case, if he's going from Long Beach to Phoenix a lot, you're going to probably get the same route a lot. But yeah, I still would file direct.
Yeah, when you mentioned the end point on an airway, I look at it as it's almost an exit point. Am I wrong?
Yes,
It's like an exit on a highway. You're going to exit 561. That's
exactly right. You're going to start here. You're going to end there. And I've seen people say, like, even filed some weird stuff, like, I'm going to enter the point at this VOR, and I'm going to end at 63 miles on the whatever radial. And you can put that kind of crap inside there if you want to. But why? I mean, it's just a pain in the butt and hard and all that kind of good thing. Interestingly, if I could say, I went to Salt Lake City recently, and Salt Lake City, Oklahoma City, and Las Vegas, Nevada are the three places that come to mind that they give you these just horrific clearances that are not like go to this point, that point, that point, but it's fly the 034 radial off the XYZ VOR for 87 miles, thence go to this thing. Man, why don't they just put a point out there? And there are ways to fly that. They're called OBS mode in your autopilot or your navigator. But it's just messy. And again, this throws back to 1978, whenever they made up these routes.
Sure.
And I mean, all the routes that are out there now are based on VORs that we used to navigate. Now you don't navigate them anymore. You just put in a GPS and go. I'm a direct guy. How about that?
Yeah.
I'm a direct guy.
Same.
Love direct.
Well, this last question is from Frank Campos. It's a fairly loaded question. I could get the comments going. If you could redesign one thing about the PA-46, what would you change and why?
Oh,
I know I've got quite a few.
let me make the list. Jump in on this one as well.
I will say Piper's changed a lot of things that I would make my list. Nose gear would be
Put the heavy nose gear on all the airplanes.
everything.
Put the heavy nose gear, make it available to every airplane.
I think the forward baggage back would be another
Forward
huge
baggage,
request.
you bet. Forward bag. Hold on, let's stand on that one for a little bit.
Okay.
Forward baggage would be so easy in an M600, M700, or not. M600 would be real hard now, but M700, it would not be a hard thing. They could do it. Little bitty one would be just fine. That engine's way out front. So yeah, that would be huge.
Mhm.
I don't know how Piper's going to compete with the TBM without a nose baggage. The TBM 900 series has a baggage compartment, and everybody we train, when we talk about an M600 to an M700, the one big gigantic gripe is the baggage compartment is a big deal for me to put the stuff I don't want in the cabin and to counter my weight. It's just a huge deal. It's just so easy to throw a bag in the front of a TBM 9 series, and it's just a beautiful thing. So yeah, that's on there.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with a customer this morning, and he's debating between a Meridian and an M600. And the typical sales pitch is the weight he can carry.
Right.
And the M600, and he's like, "Yeah, Matt, but where do I put it?"
That's right. He's exactly
And
right.
it's a valid point. Without taking out the seat, which Richard Milam, great customer of ours, he's got the STC. What is it? A baggage rack there.
Yes.
And that's the only one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I love that part. But for somebody trying to fit 2 or 3 people, where do you put all that weight? The forward baggage answers all the questions for me.
It does. So yeah, if I could wave the magic wand, that would be one of the things I would have. I would put the ice heating pad or the heating element that's on an M600 and M700. I would have it for all the PA-46s. I will say
Except
that
for the bridge icing.
the ice bridging on the horizontal tail. I will say Blackhawk is very close to having that out and available. I've heard January 2026. I don't know that it'll happen there, but I do think they are so good at producing STCs that it'll become available. When that comes available, you're going to hear me do some cheerleading and I'll be directing people to go get it because I think that's just, but again, this is something Piper's been putting on M600 since 2016. Why didn't they offer it as an STC immediately? I don't know. Windshield. I would have another source of the windshield. I would cut down on the dadgum cushioning inside of an airplane. You don't need 5 inches of foam.
Yeah.
And for most people that are taller or wider, you lose just a gob of clients because they put this big, gigantic, cushioning in there. And today's modern foams and interior designs, they could make it for bigger people. And if you're over 6'4", you're not even fitting in one of these. If you're over 235 pounds, you're going to have a tough time figuring it out. And if you got mobility issues, forget it. So, they could cut down on the foam and it would just be a beautiful thing. I'd love to see the Continental engine bolted onto the
back on the Mirage.
Now, I'm Lycoming, I'm fine with you. It's all good. It's all wonderful, but you're not Lena Peak. And the Continental runs beautifully Lena Peak. All the stuff has been fixed in the past. They had production problems back a long time ago. Continental did. All that supposedly has been fixed. But if they offered a 550 on the front of a piston powered, they'd sell a ton more. I think I forget the numbers that they're selling of piston airplanes, but you can count them on 2 hands each year. It's just not enough to even be monkeying with. But if you went to a Continental, I'm telling you, you'd sell triple the amount of aircraft that they sell. And I might be one of them, meaning that'd be a whale of an airplane to get a Continental powered PA-46
G1000
with the G1000 NXI and all the refinements on the interior. And man, you talk about a whale of an air, man, that thing would just sell like no tomorrow. I think the 100 low lead is going to go away, but a good replacement's coming, like the 100 UL or something. In other words, I think we're going to have piston airplanes around for a long while. And so I think it's worth, and it's just sitting right there. All they got to do is literally make the decision. They own the type certificate. So I don't know. I like that plan a whole lot. What else would I do? The simple fact that I can't come up with
good airframe
a lot tells you how good this airframe is. That's a strong. Whoever's making the emergency gear release device that, when you pull the emergency gear handle, the little module that releases the gear, that thing's built like crap and they fail all the time. I'd love to see that fixed. Gosh.
Retractable door cables. I'd like to see those gone.
Yeah, retractable door. Yeah, I'd love to.
But I'm just being picky at this point.
They started out with something better. I guess I wanted this we want this podcast to be something where we think on the fly. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I can't come up with a whole bunch tells you how good this airplane, how good the whole series is. For as much as I want to beat up on Piper for, the things we've already beat them up on, it's a pretty good airplane. In other words, there's not really a good close second. If you go down from here, you're looking at a P210, which is not a good airplane. You go up, you're going to a TBM, which has got a really robust maintenance schedule.
Yeah, you're going to phases. So
yeah, you're going to phases. So this is a PA-46 is in a real sweet spot. And Piper just hit a home run. Really, John Mariani and that design team, they hit the home run. Piper's been massaging the design ever since, but the original design that they came out with is just a home run, and we've been hitting home runs with it ever since. So would I tweak some things? Yeah, you bet I would. But there's not just a whole lot. It's really a good airframe. When you really come down to interior seats, a heated pad, what type of engine, you're really talking about minor stuff. You're really talking about minor stuff. So Piper did a good job. Yeah. I appreciate him putting forth this comment or this question. But it really is a good airplane.
Sure.
That's it? No more questions?
That's all the questions this week.
Man, I feel like those were good questions, and some questions where I got to go down rabbit trails and go chase things, and that's kind of fun always. Matt, I appreciate you being a part of,
Thanks for having me.
but not only a part of KC Aviation or a part of this podcast, but a part of KC Aviation. You lead our sales department. You do a great job. We've had a good year, and you've led that the whole way. So I appreciate you doing it.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And if you got any questions, put them forth to Clint at flykc.com, send them to Joe at flykc, or just give us a call. Either one. We'd love to help you with training, sales, movement, whatever you got, maintenance, whatever it is in the PA 46. We'd love to be your advocate. Send your questions. Joe Casey and
Matt Courtney.
we're signing off.